Hi everybody, I'm Tildy Wahardo, and I am the founder of Womanars. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tildy. Today we're going to be talking about how to retrain your brain and more along the lines of positive thinking. A lot of us struggle with the negative Nellies, is what I like to call, in our head, and sometimes we can be just spiraling down into that mentality and don't quite know how to stop ourselves. So today we're going to be talking about how positive thinking really affects our lives and the positive effects that it can have on not only our relationships but on our self-esteem, our confidence. All those things play a huge part in both our personal lives and our business life. So I'm a firm believer that if you change your mind, you change your life. So where does that come from? Why do I believe that? Well, as some of you know, I went through a traumatic childhood. From the time that I was 5 till I was 12, I was molested by multiple predators, and I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of pain, I had a lot of fear that I had to overcome. I had a lot of self-esteem issues and confidence issues that I hid behind all those masks, right? So I really, in my early 20s, I went through this, it was a spiritual awakening, really. I had come to my wit's end where my past, my childhood past had caught up to me because I hadn't dealt with all those emotions. I hadn't dealt with all the feelings and the hurt that I had inside of me. So all those memories of being molested started to come back. And this was right after I had gotten married. And so I started having these flashbacks of being molested. And I mean, they were so real and so, they were just overwhelming. And I didn't know how not to have them. They would happen not only at night, but they'd happen throughout the day. I would be walking, I'd be shopping, and then all of a sudden, I'd start to feel this feeling that was just uncontrollable. And it got so bad that I was really at my wit's end and I was contemplating suicide. And I've always been a spiritual person. And this one day I decided that, I couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't want to live like that anymore. I mean, it was just so consuming and I was so desperate that I literally I was doing sit-ups. I was in the middle of my bedroom doing sit-ups and I was working out when these flashbacks started to come back. And so literally just rolled over. I was crying my eyes out and I asked God that if he was real, to please take this from me. And so, and I just remember shaking all over, crying, just crying my eyes out and feeling this intense heat over me. And literally 10 to 20 seconds later, I felt so much lighter. I felt like something had been totally lifted. And I don't care if you're a believer or not, but this is what happened. Since that day, I have not had one memory or flashback happen. And I can't explain it, but what that day did for me is give me hope that I didn't have before. And that hope then, started my faith walk, of course, with God and Christ, and then reading the Word and reading books on, it made me crave to be someone that I wasn't yet. But I saw myself being loving. I saw myself being forgiving. I saw myself being compassionate. And so I wanted to be all those things, so I started reading books. And I've always been a voracious reader of books. And so for me, I was reading the Bible, I was reading Max Lucado books, about how much God loves me. I was reading Lisa Bevere books about how to manage your anger. And so I was reading everything I could get my hands on overcoming my pain, my anger, and my fear. And so what these books did, they taught me how to retrain my brain, right? Lisa Bevere especially, because she came from a traumatic childhood past herself. So she had dealt with a lot of the things that I had dealt with, especially the anger. I was a loose cannon back then. Anything could trigger me. And I really wanted to get that under control. And I wanted to be able to love people and trust people. And so all those things, all those books, I can't even remember how many books I read, but I read them and then I would practice them. And so fast forward, and they really helped me heal. They helped me turn into this faithful and loving and compassionate woman. Now, I am not perfect, but I am all those things. And I am not the same person that I was, 20 years ago. This was when I was 24, when I really started to work on me and changing my mindset. And believe it or not, I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I just knew that I had to do it because I didn't want my past to dictate my future. I wanted to be somebody different. And so I saw myself there and I went for it and I did everything that I could to do, and I still do that. I'm still in a growth mode. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And I see a lot of people kind of get stuck in their past, because I did have that victim mentality for the longest time. And I didn't go from victim to victor until I really started to practice. And while, it really helped to have those flashbacks removed from my life to be able to move forward, but it was still very important for me to take the time and to have the discipline to do exactly what I was doing, to put those practices in place. Change your mind, change your life, right? I mean, that's one of the titles that I give to my class. And one of the simplest ways to stay happy, they say, is to let go of all the things that make you sad. Well, being sad is not a bad thing. I mean, obviously, I think too many times you think positive thinking is just not acknowledging the times that you are sad or that you are disappointed. So this is not what this class is about, okay? It's not about not allowing yourself to ever feel sad, because I truly believe that there are those times when it's healthy, and we're human. And there are times when people let us down, or circumstances happen that make us sad. We lose a loved one, we lose a job, we get betrayed by someone that we trusted. So all those things are sad things. And as spiritual beings, as humans, we have a range of emotions, and sadness is definitely an authentic and real emotion. So the problem becomes when we stay there. Okay, it's not so much having the sadness or the heartbrokenness, it's staying there. So the key is to kind of know how to change that story, right? So you can always stay a victim, or you can go into the victor mentality. And for me, it was, okay, my story of my past was that I was a victim. I was a victim of childhood molestation. Now, I could have either chosen to stay in that story or chosen to retell that. And so I chose to retell that story. So it's not that I don't acknowledge what happened to me as a child. It's that I'm using those tools and those practices and what I learned from that experience to help me be a more compassionate and empathetic human being now that I'm an adult. So, a lot of people use alcohol or drugs or some other form of thing to help them cope or put a Band-Aid over those feelings that they're experiencing from any traumatic childhood past. So what I would love for you to do is take a look, first of all, to see what's the story. What's your story? What's the story that you've been telling yourself? And is it one that is futuristic, and that gives hope, that gives you hope? Or is it one that you're stuck in, the here and now, or that you're looking back upon? Now, when you're looking at the present moment, I mean, you can acknowledge exactly where you are. And I'm a firm believer that all the choices that we've made right up until this minute, our lives are a reflection of all the choices that we've made up until this moment. So at any moment in time, you have the capability to shift and pivot where you want to go next, okay? So take a look at where you are right now, and what's the story that you've been telling yourself that got you exactly to where you are? And then, if you like where you're going, great. Keep going down that path. But if you don't like where you are, or where you're going, or what your life circumstances are, what are those choices that you can be making that will help you pivot? So that's what we're going to be talking about, how to pivot, and what do those voices sound like that keep us going down a path that we really don't want to go down? Because a lot of times we simply don't know how to stop ourselves. I know that was me until I was reading all these books that showed me how to do that, how to put these practices into place. So going through a positive psychology course, I really learned what those things are called, which really helped me identify what things really help me. So everything I'm sharing with you are the things that help me. So there's two paths. There's a learner path and there's a judger path. And so the learner path is the one that asks the questions, what happened? What do I want? Let's say something like divorce. My divorce, for instance. These are the questions that I was asking myself during my divorce. What happened? What do I want? What are the facts? What can I learn from this situation? And what are they thinking, feeling, and seeing? That's the learner path. The judger path is more along the lines of whose fault is it? What were they thinking? Are they crazy? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? And it's very judgmental, right? So when you look at your circumstances or circumstances that might come up in the future for you, which one are you? Are you on the learner path or are you on the judger path? Do you immediately deflect blame to other people? Or do you instantly look to see what it is that you can learn from this situation? So those are two very different paths, and I think the learner path for me is more optimistic. Okay, so you're reflective on your own life, your own circumstances, and these are the things that you can actually control. A judger path always looks outside of themselves and looks at things that they can't control. So a judger is always going to be disappointed because you can't control outside circumstances or people, other people. The only thing you can really control is yourself and your own mind and the choices that you're making yourself. You can't make other people do anything. So a learner path does exactly that. You self-reflect on yourself. What are the things that I can learn from this situation? What are the opportunities that are before me? Going through a divorce or a breakup. When I was going through my divorce, it was why me for a little bit. I mean, I experienced that. But then shortly thereafter, it was what's next? What do I want to do with the second half of my life that I have an opportunity to do that I didn't have before? Now I don't have that other person to worry about. So what do I do next? So it's that kind of mentality. Also, it's making better choices. It allows you to make better choices. I think when you're in a learner mentality, you are more clear about what you want, and you're not worried so much about what other people think or what other people want for you to do. You're really concentrated, and it's not a selfish thing. And although it might feel selfish because we've been brought up to think that way, but it's really not selfish. We're simply taking care of ourselves. And when we take care of ourselves, we're better equipped to take care of other people. We're better equipped to be better examples for our kids, for our loved ones, and to be happier. really. So you have the judger and you have the learner path, right? So we've talked about that. So now we have a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And these are two really different ways of thinking. A fixed mindset, they tend to like be the ones who know everything. And if you criticize them, they really don't like it. And they can't take constructive criticism. Dave is pointing at me, but I know that's not true. So they avoid challenges. You know, have you ever run into somebody that just does not want to do something because they're afraid that they might fail, or they're afraid that they'll look dumb? You know, I mean, they don't like to push themselves. Also, they give up really easily. You know, how many times do you see a little kid just like, give up? Well, adults do that too, you know, because they're not doing it well, or because they don't know how to. They give up really easily. So we're talking about a fixed mindset here. Also, the effort, they see, you know, having effort as fruitless. Like, why should I try? You know, that's the mentality. And they also ignore the useful negative feedback. So constructive criticism, they don't like it at all. They don't want to hear it. And they feel threatened by the success of others. And I mean, jealousy, right? And so all those things are part of a fixed mindset. And they certainly are signs of a miserable person, because how can you be happy when you're avoiding, you know, doing things just because they're a little hard, or you're giving up too easily, you know, because you give up too easily on something you really want, so you never get it. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is a desire to learn and to try different things. They have a tendency to embrace challenges. You know, embrace challenges is, okay, this is hard, but I can see myself through it. You know, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. Let's take losing a job, for instance, okay? Losing a job or losing income. A lot of times, fixed mindset will just give up and go down the negative Nelly and start beating themselves up about how dumb it is, or how they get down and out about the employer or themselves or their family. Where a growth mindset, when they lose a job, yes, it hurts. Yes, it's sad. Yes, it's debilitating. And you allow yourself to feel that. But at the same time, you have hope, and you're resilient enough and you're optimistic enough to go out there and try and find another job. You know, instead of wallowing too much in self-pity, a growth mindset has a resiliency and has the optimism to go out there and try again. So also, a growth mindset is somebody who is constantly growing. You know, I always laugh when people say that they've arrived. Well, I think we arrive when we realize that we actually never get there. You know, life is a journey, and it's a constant growing and learning. And we're here just to simply enjoy the ride, enjoy the moment. Don't be so worried about where you're going or where you've been. Actually, just enjoy the moment and be able to have that clarity and focus of where you want to go, knowing that you'll eventually get there, but also taking these moments that you have with your family, with your friends, and being able to be there and be present. Learning from criticism, growth mindset. You know, when Dave says, "Hey, Tildy, you know, you need a little bit more makeup," or you need. I know he's never said that.
You're gonna kill me.
Or you need to lose a few pounds. You know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There goes my brand.
He's never said that. But, you know, I mean, putting myself out here on Facebook, you get some criticism, you know, and I take constructive criticism. Like last week, it was chewing gum. I forgot to spit out my gum in the first few minutes of the segment. And when I saw myself chewing gum, I was like, holy crap, I got to go, you know, chuck this. And so I did, but I still got criticized for it. And so I had to, like, acknowledge that. And I'm acknowledging it now. I've got to remember, check my gun before I go live. And not letting that affect me. I could have easily said, and believe me, I heard this voice, who are you to be going live? And I heard it. And it's a matter of a growth mindset will hear it and let it go. And then go back to a positive outlook, realizing for me it was like, well, look at all the content. The content was great, and getting the feedback from other people on how great the content was. So I concentrated on that. You also find inspiration and in the lessons and success of others. I love to see my friends be successful and flourish and doing what they love. And it's also, again, heartbreaking to see them going through some things that they're going through. So it's not just a matter of always being in that euphoric state, but it's actually allowing yourself to feel and be real with other people. One of the things that if you are struggling with, and when I struggle with this myself, because I'm not always peppy and happy and joyful, there's some things that I go through too that kind of stump me a little bit. And I always go back to gratitude. The practice of gratitude is essential for us to flourish and to really be thankful and grateful in any situation. So it's not happy people who are thankful, it's thankful people that are happy, right? And I truly believe that. So there's some practices that you can put in place to really enforce the gratitude factor. So first of all, you can write 3 good things that happened in the last 24 hours and how you contributed to it happening. So in other words, did you pick up somebody's kids from school? That was something that you contributed. That was positive. So things like that you're grateful for. Also, write 3 things down that are challenges that you're facing right now, and one thing you can do to move them all in a positive direction. I don't know what those things may be, what challenges you might be facing, but just write one thing that you can do to move them all in a positive direction. All right, 3 things you are grateful for. We talked about this a little bit already, both in the past and present. Maybe you're having a really bad day today and you really can't think of anything. So one of my positive psychology instructors said, when you can't think of anything, even just being thankful that we can flush the toilet, is really something that we take for granted, right? And it really is, because more than half the world doesn't have running water and clean water at that. So, there's definitely things that you can be thankful for. There's things like just a smile and providing a smile to somebody, being kind to the cashier. A lot of times I think they get beat up because they're the people there, standing in front of us, and we take our hostility out on them. So be sure and give them a smile. Shout out to all the cashiers out there. Also, 3 things that you're grateful for in the future. I'm grateful for being healthy. I'm grateful for Dave, helping me with the video production. And I'm definitely grateful for all the friends and family I have that love me. So think of your own 3 things that you're grateful for and write them down. They're really powerful, and do them on a daily basis. I can't tell you how it will help you redirect your life, especially if you're doing it first thing in the morning and you're writing down, 1 to 3 things that you're grateful for. You just get your mind off to a great start that way. One of my favorite TED Talks, I'm a big TED Talk person and follower, and one of the best talks I think that I've heard on this is Amy Cuddy's, her quote from her talk, and I can't remember the exact name of her talk, but we'll have it up for you on video. The quote from her talk is, "Fake it until you become it." So a lot of times we hear fake it until you make it, right? So I know that a lot of times we go through things that that are just really difficult to come out of, you know, that are really sad, that are really emotional, that are really angry. But fake it until you become it is one of those things that, you know, am I confident? Do I have that self-esteem? Well, you can pretend like you do. And one of the things that she recommends is a power pose. So like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Wonder Woman pose, where you stand with your feet apart and you stand with your hands on your hips and stand there for a minute. Or there's also this other pose where you stand with your hands in the air. And how often do we do that? We do that when we're like euphoric, when we're happy. And when you do it, when you do this pose, or you do the pose with your hand on your hips, you can feel the energy transfer. I know it may sound silly, but just try it. Try it for a minute. If you're feeling like, you know, like you're down and out on yourself a little bit, just try those two poses for a minute and see and feel how the transfer of energy happens. Something happens in our brain that starts to lose the oxytocin, I think it is, and the endorphins, you know, start to go, and even a hug. You know, a hug goes a million miles when you're not feeling so good about yourself. So either you go out and give, I think it's 8 hugs a day that we're supposed to be giving to really make an impact on the optimism and feeling happy and grateful. So all those things, I hope that you implement at least one. I guarantee you, if you implement just one of those practices, you'll see a big difference in the quality of life and the optimism that you have. And stop going down the judger path and start going down the learner path. I hope that these 3 practices or 4 practices really make an impact on your life. And if they do, please let us know. I'd love to hear from you at tilde@womanars.com. If you like the content, please share it with your friends. Follow us on our YouTube channel. We've also subscribed to our newsletter on womanars.com. Appreciate all your encouragement and your support. Thank you.